and welcome to the Little Minds Big Ideas podcast with the Early Years Network.
Can I note the second time you've been welcomed to this episode of the podcast, but this time we've decided to actually record the contents.
My bad.
Always helps, doesn't it?
I didn't press record.
We chatted here for 3-4 minutes until we realised. It was a really good intro, the last one though. You'd have all really enjoyed it.
You would have enjoyed it. But like I said before, Ben is back.
Hello.
He's back.
For the second time.
And this week we are going to be looking at the other end of the early years spectrum to what me and Rachel talked about last week, which was, if you've not listened yet, it was all about what to put in your children's bags, starting nursery, what makes things easier.
Really good episode as well.
Yeah, it was.
There's a fine balance. That episode could have been really like, I'm going to teach you how to suck eggs sort of vibe. Because anybody who works in early years, but it was quite nice because, and I think quite directional towards new parents, etc., etc.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the other end today, about school readiness.
Yeah.
Because it's that time of year when we're saying goodbye to a lot of our children.
Yeah, the buzzword school readiness. Yeah,
so we're going to kind of look about what is it that we say in early years, like, oh God, they're ready for school. Like what triggers that? The misconceptions about what children need for going to school. And then do we prepare the parents enough as well as the children for that transition to school? And then we put a question out on our Instagram. So if you don't follow our Instagram, go and check it out because we are always popping questions on and
always popping questions.
Things that you want to know from us and things like that. So if you're not on there, have a little look. But we put something out about what is it that people in schools think children really do need when they start school. And I've got a whole list of things.
Yeah, it's sort of defining what school readiness is because it's always this vague terminology that gets bandied about and it means a lot of nothing, I'd probably say, school readiness, because it means something different for everybody, whoever uses the term school readiness. And we almost use it as a catchphrase as if it means something, but in reality, it means a whole wide of things and covers such a large scope.
So that's what we're going to dive into in a little bit. But first, new on the platform.
New on the platform.
Very good.
I've really been working at it. I had a whole week off last week to work.
Really big about it. So if you've not checked out my new Mood Boosters class, you can still check that out. That's going to be on there forever and ever.
Emily said that because last time when we did this,
it's still there.
It's still there, surprisingly.
Shock.
So like to keep you on your toes and just delete them every now and again.
Oh no. And then I've got a few more in the pipeline as well. Things have just been crazy for us recently, haven't they?
I have, yeah.
Things have been really, really busy. So we're back on filming and Ben's new class, all about the science behind behaviour, is going to be recorded next week and should be with you hopefully within the next 7 to 10 days.
It's taken me a while to get this one ready.
Yeah,
it's been a bit of a beef to the point where I've even been taking an online course from the University of Chicago all about anatomy and brain development, which has been quite mean but interested at the same time. So no, it's going to be good. I wanted to keep, it's weird because I'm trying to prep a sciencey class and also at the same time avoid science entirely.
Tricky.
It is tricky. So lesson 1 would be all about science and we'll just nail some core principles and foundations and mainly terminology and wording. And then the incredibly basic of basic understandings around how the brain works. And then from that point then, we'll jump into what it means for early years and early childhood development and most importantly, behaviour, emotions, feelings, etc., and really delve into the scientific principles of where behaviour and emotions come from rather than just at the moment a lot of times either bad science or sort of storybook answers and vague guesses on where behaviour comes from, because then that impacts our practice, our expectations of children, and everything that boils into, actually, ironically, what we're going to talk today on school readiness.
Yeah, so that is going to be up with you soon, so keep an eye out. We'll put loads on our social medias.
Yeah, I'm hoping next week.
When it comes out and it's ready.
Either late next week, well, actually, when you're listening to this, either late this week, early next week.
Early next week, yeah. So fingers crossed when we're chatting to you in the next episode, we can tell you it is live. Fingers crossed. But in the news?
Oh yeah, we do have a news piece this week.
Jingle.
Oh yeah, in my jingle. Shall I go high or deep this time? Because I went deep, and I don't think
high.
High,
but not too high.
Mika high.
No,
like Scissor Sisters. Like
no, just like normal for you.
Normal for me high. So not like in the news. Not that.
That was good. I liked that.
In the news with Emily and Ben.
Very nice. Very nice. Hope you all enjoyed that. Now, this is an
After
interesting
that, I just
one.
broke some people's headphones.
Sorry, yeah, if you're listening to that in your headphones. So this is an interesting one because we found it and we're not too sure on it, are we?
So it's a scheme called Play Now, Pay Later from what?
Don't name the nursery.
Okay, a nursery in Warwickshire.
Yeah.
And they're part of quite a large chain. I think there's 40-odd nurseries. I think they're part of the co-op. I don't know if that's the co-op as in the shop, like i.e. the cooperative, or they've just used the name co-op. I'm not sure.
Right,
but
okay.
I think they're part of a chain of, I don't know, it gets a bit confusing. But theoretically, so this idea is, I don't know why I said theoretically, but this idea is you play now, you pay later. And from what I can guess is they're offering parents the opportunity to spread the cost of childcare outside of the window of childcare.
Yeah, it was up to 6 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, which I don't know if that scares me or is it good.
On your early years bill.
It is a little bit. To be fair, actually, I've not read into it. I don't know if it includes interest at any stage.
Yeah, true.
I get the idea it doesn't, but would you be able to do that if it's funding? You wouldn't be able to add interest onto the funded hours. But this can't be funded because parents don't pay for funded hours.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that okay, so the funded hours would come up and they'd be paying the rest of their bill.
They're not offering the government a extended pay.
No, I know, but my head wasn't thinking about that.
No, so this won't have anything to do with funded hours. This is outside of the window of funding.
I suppose it means that the settings are still getting some money in because of the funded hours. That's possibly why they're able to.
Yeah, but no, they're not. They're still getting money in. So I think theoretically what they're saying is they'll half your bill
every month.
Ignore funding. They'll half your bill of whatever you pay in every month because they're then doubling the amount of time that you're paying this back. So you're just spreading out the cost effectively, which I am going to assume is interest free because otherwise it would sort of make it a bit pointless. But there would be mechanisms at play, surely, that, i.e. the contract you sign, if you miss payments and stuff like that, it just seems like another
It's hard enough
mechanism.
to get people to pay their nursery fees while they're still using the service.
Yeah. Well,
once they've gone, it's even harder, surely.
Yeah, but there's a risk there for the setting, but I'm assuming they're clamping down on some pretty watertight contracts involved in this.
Yeah, but...
and it's just... It's another debt. Do you know what I mean? You're just collecting debt, and we already live in a society where we're always up in our eyeballs of debt, whether it be personal loans, mortgages, car repayments, you name it. It's debt.
Your phone, phone bills, everything.
Everything's debt. And if you then add in nursery debt...
I know. I get the idea of it, and I do understand it, because if you are, say you're still on maternity leave and your child's first nursery bill is going to be more because you're starting them before you go back to work, that would probably help. But is it something you want to continue with? Like, I wonder if it's you can do it for a certain amount of months and then catch up. And
look, it's nice that nurseries are thinking outside the box in ways
and
to
offering
make
different things. Definitely,
is more affordable for people. But I don't like the sound of it. I wouldn't want to put people in more debt, like you said, for a service that they're going to get regardless. It scares me both for individuals, again racking up more debt, and it also scares me for the sake of the nurseries, because if they suddenly don't see this money and they're reliant on seeing this money and then it doesn't come in, are we just creating a system and kicking it down the line where we're going to cause ourselves more financial issues?
Let us know your thoughts. Play now, pay later.
Nice.
I like
that's high pitched.
Just started to squeak. Sorry, everyone. We're going to break everyone's ears
today. I think you just hit at puberty.
Hello. I think it's a good idea. Let us know what you think. Play now, pay later.
Yeah.
And if this is your nursery, how does it work? What are the contractual agreements?
Yeah, if you're in Warwickshire and you have this contract coming out to you, let us know.
Is it watertight, or are you going to be able to just leave with 2 years left on your bill?
Have you managed to figure out a loophole?
Yeah, what's the loophole?
Let us know.
Let us know, yeah. That was our in the news this week.
Yeah, trying to stay away from politics for a little bit.
I was all politics for a while. I'm done with politics. It's all kind of calmed down a bit now, hasn't it? Politics.
Well, yeah, they've...
apart from the riots.
apart from it hasn't at all.
For early years, it has a bit, so that's good. Right.
Come on then.
School readiness.
Yep.
Now, to start us off, when is it in early years that we think children are ready for school?
Actually, the first question I've probably got for you is, do you think we go to school at the right age?
No, I think we go too early. But I don't think that our nurseries are set up. Obviously not, because they go to school. But we'd have to really adapt our nursery environments, because there does get to a point where children are just so done with nursery. They're so over it. They're suddenly with children that are a lot younger than them, which is great for the younger children, but can't. And it's good for the older children as well, but they need that next challenge. So we'd have to really evaluate what we do. But I don't think we should go into the actual schooling system until the end of the EYFS, if that's what we're going to keep doing.
So you mean they'll go to school and straight into year one?
Yeah.
Do you think that would be beneficial?
Yeah. I think because
But what you're basically saying there, we have to create a reception class.
In nursery.
Yeah, but so why not just go to reception at the school?
Because I don't think, personally, that...
So is it a curriculum thing, not an environmental thing?
Yeah, I think
so. Why not just focus on the curriculum as opposed?
Can't, though, because they're in a school environment.
Yeah, but
That's what I think is the
focus
problem.
on reform within the education body to reform reception. That seems more of a practical solution rather than changing entirely when they go to school.
They don't go to school until age 7 in a lot of European countries.
Yeah. That's why I said, well, what is your opinion on that?
I don't know. I personally don't... Oh, cancelled, I think.
What are you about to say?
Nurseries inside schools, I don't agree with. I don't like...
Okay. So preschool inside of a nursery.
Yeah,
right.
and I think inside of a school, you mean?
Sorry, inside of a school.
I'm sure everyone does a fantastic job. I'm sure they do, and I'm not doubting that. I've never worked specifically in one.
Is that because you think it becomes too educational?
I think they fall into the rabbit hole of the schooling system and teaching and sitting down and interventions far too early. And I think that children need space to explore. I think children need the freedom to explore. I think children need to be able to choose their own learning and take risks in their environment. And I don't think that nurseries within schools allow that, as well as some independent nurseries do. I might be completely wrong, like I said.
But I'm sure there's probably some in schools that do it better than probably some private nurseries do as well.
100%.
There is probably a balance there.
Yeah. But I think as soon as you're on those school grounds and you're tied down to the school and your manager is your head teacher, who's very much running a school, I think it can be very difficult to break that mould.
And interestingly, this does come back full circle to this concept of what we're going to talk today, of what school readiness is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, school readiness is, i.e., what should the children have been taught at this point? Have they achieved it? And what are our expectations of children? It's theoretically what school readiness is.
Yeah. So
again, I'll come back to that. So you think we should delay? The thing is, if you delay it, you then put more strain and stress on parents. It's more of a financial impact.
It's completely different.
We've just had a discussion around play now, pay later. You then extend that by 2 years. The financial strain on parents is huge then. I mean, there's more to it, isn't there, from that implication from a social standpoint?
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not actually expecting you to have answers.
You didn't prep me for that. I don't know. I just think I wouldn't want my child, not that I have any, I wouldn't want my child to go to a preschool that's in the school.
Yeah. Okay.
Personally. Because I have worked in breakfast clubs and after school clubs where there is a nursery attached. And as cute as, it's something really random, but as cute as school uniforms are,
Do they wear them?
Yeah, they wore them. They probably don't have to in all of them, but they wore them. And I just thought, because there's a little girl here at one of our nurseries and she loves to dress up, like absolutely loves to dress up. And her mum was saying at our graduation event the other day, she said, I've already told her that you can't do this when you go to school. So make the most of it. No, why are you still at nursery? And my heart just I was like, she comes in fairy wings and she comes in princess dresses and then she's a fireman and then she's this and she's just expressing herself through her clothing. And her mum's literally had to say, like, you won't do this at school.
The thing,
so that's where I just
The thing for me, I don't get as hung up about the age. For me, it's not even the curriculum. I hate that word.
Environment.
It's the focus. It's what are we trying to achieve? What's our expectations of children at this age? Reception, year 1, year 2. For me, it should be a lot more about play still, expression, and generally just social learning and creating and having fun, but at the same time developing some core skills and key skills, which I think in general it is, but I sometimes think it gets blended too much with. The thing is, I come from my memory of year 1 and year 2, which admittedly now was off the top of my head, 25 years ago. I mean, a long time ago. Well, relatively. And from that point of view, I do remember being sat at a desk for the majority of the time and learning and sheets and colouring sheets and worksheets and books. And I think that's too early. I think from a scientific point of view and generally just from a social standpoint, I think it's too early.
There is a lot of people on social media, and I see a lot of it now, that are really trying to incorporate learning and play into their, like, sort of even going into year 1 classes, having that continuous provision. And I see a lot of that. Which I think is amazing. Like you say, I think that, but it's not the teacher's fault, but they still have to follow the curriculum.
No, and I think we're at a turning point more than ever, where I think, if you went back 20 years ago, the type of conversations, the type of things that teachers within these early primary school ages now are probably more on it and better than ever. And I think they get it, and I think they're fighting the fight internally by and large. And I think they see it in their children. And I think the more that we can get that message up to the decision makers and what the programs and what the educational curriculum becomes, I think the better. Because I think before the age of 7, children are children.
Children,
I think the best way the human brain learns at that point is through things that engage them and things that excite them. And if that revolves around play, it's up to us to figure out what their learning styles is, how they want to play, how we can gain their attention and then develop their brain as a result of that, instead of forcing them to learn in a very specific way, in a very old-fashioned way. Schools and primary schools, secondary schools were set up decades and decades ago, and preliminarily were around developing children ready for factory working and things like that. So a lot of them be able to write and having literature and numerical, as well as have common concentration to concentrate on things in the factory for a long period of time and take orders and stand still and blah, 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 blah. Great. That's what society needed at that point, the factory workers. We're way, 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 way beyond that now. And I think we need to think about what actually we want from our members of society and how do we best develop that. And if it's now around ingenuity and creativity and thinking outside the box and working well in teams, let's develop our educational system to do that, rather than our educational system at the moment, let's be completely honest, is around who can memorize the most amount of information.
Produce it in an exam at the end. Yeah.
And there are certain subjects where what I'm saying is not entirely true. You need to be able to learn how to read and write, obviously. The basics of mathematics and scientific principles, they're all in there. But predominantly learning centered around one style of learning. In an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. And there's financial constraints, there's time constraints, there is the volume of children constraints. So you've got to find the easiest way to make it work. I appreciate that. But
so that kind of links to, like, when do we think children are ready then? And we always say, it's that busy summer period where they are just done. They're just done in this environment. They've been there for a long time. Depending on the birthday, some children can spend up to 2 years in a preschool room.
Yeah.
So it's a long time for them.
And there's a massive difference between a child who's transitioning from the 2s to a child who's ready to go to school. There's a huge developmental gap there.
And that's what I'm saying. If we were going to hold them back, we'd need another room. Like, we'd need
you need to
next
progress.
Step. So we see children visibly getting bored in the environment.
Yep.
You see that less when you've got skilled practitioners who are still able to challenge them and still be able to change those learning styles. But the busy period of summer, and I also think it's when they start to see their friends finish. Because we don't all finish at the same time. So.
And children are always excited for big school. Like, there's always an excitement around that.
Do you know what my frustration is? And I say this every single year. We have that period where children are going to do visits to their new schools, they're meeting the teachers, they're finding a uniform. And then for 6 weeks, everyone just fucks off and they don't see the teacher for 6 weeks. They don't see the school for 6 weeks. And then they're like, well, I'm going to big school. Not yet, but I've been to big school. Yeah, you have been to big school. So I'm going tomorrow. No, school's closed. But I'm going to big school. Yeah, in September. No, I'm going now. I've already been. I've been for lunch. I've been for my stay and play. And then they just disappear for 6 weeks and we don't hear anything from anybody. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now you've left nursery, now you go back to school. Even they've just got in their head that they're staying at nursery for longer and they're like, right, okay, here we go again.
Ruby's mum did a good job of it though, because I'm going to Cornwall, Spain, camp, and then I'm going to
and then I'm going to school.
Very clued in on when that's happening.
Yeah, that's true. But
I know what you mean.
It does get me every single year because they get ready for this change in like May, June, beginning of July time. They're back and forth from school. They've got open mornings, and they stay for a little bit longer and they have lunch at school, and then they have to go for the afternoon, and then they come back and they're here, there and everywhere, and then school just disappears. It just goes.
Yeah.
For 6 weeks.
I was surprised by how short and sharp the time they spend there is as well. I think we were saying the other day, it was only an hour or two that some of the children were actually in school.
Yeah.
By the time they actually get there, take all their coats and bags off, shoes, understand where they are.
About it, say bye to mum and dad. They're back.
They're leaving.
Yeah, and then come back to nursery for the rest of the day, and they're like, what's going on?
That you don't create a negative experience in that. Because if you create a negative experience within that moment of time,
I want to go back.
Very quickly, it'll become synonymous in their brain.
I didn't mean to get aggressive and say that the school's just.
I was going to say you did get very angry.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean it like that. It does just really irritate me because I think that we prepare them for this change and we get it in their head and we talk about it and we talk about it, we talk about it. And then over the summer, we try not to talk about it. Because some kids are with us until the 31st of August.
Yeah.
And they're slowly watching people drop off. Well, they've gone to big school. Why am I not gone to big school yet?
Yeah.
Well, your school's still closed. Their school's still closed too, but they're going on holiday and you're not. It just gets so frustrating because it just poof, gone for 6 weeks. And then they have to go again. I remember when I was younger, my mum told me this story, that I was in nursery full time, like every day, start to end, loved it. And I went to reception. I don't think I did a half day for my first. You can like phase in.
Right, okay.
I think I just went straight in for 9 till 3, which pretty much is a half day anyway when you've done 7:30 till 6 at nursery every day. And my mum said that she booked the first couple of days like half day so she could pick me up from school. And she picked me up at 3 o'clock and was like, okay, we're going home. And I was like,
what?
Is that it? I'm done. And my mum was like, well, yeah. I probably shouldn't have done that because I ended up in after school club then for the rest of my life, but which I loved. So
do you know what this is completely sidetracked from what we're talking about, but my story and the only thing I really remember around reception is I used to go to the book corner where they had like squishy beanbags and I'd always fall asleep.
Of course you did.
I'd always just be asleep.
You're like kid in the corner, like, for God's sake.
I used to just take myself to sleep. I was like, I've had enough of this.
I've had enough of this. This is boring. I remember in reception, we had like, the book corner was underneath and the top was like a pirate ship.
Ooh.
It was really cool, but it was only open at certain times and you couldn't actually like...
Oh, there we go.
Play on it.
I was going to say, it sounded too good to be true, this.
There was like 4 people at a time and then it'd be like, oh, they've been on the pirate ship for so long.
Do you know what the worst thing about my experience with primary school, to this day I remember and I'm still angry about it.
Was it that they disappeared for 6 weeks?
No, we had a football pitch right at school. It wasn't grass; it was a hard gravel, whatever you want to call it, football pitch. And you were only allowed to play football on it once a week. So it cycled through age groups. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. That didn't even make any sense. I don't know how
they did it. Morning break and afternoon break because you used to have 2.
Yeah, but no, lunch. You're only allowed to play football once a week. So you could play football on Monday, but then you weren't allowed to play for the rest of the week until the next week came around. So it was awful. We were bored out of our brains because the football pitch was the main bit. Then the next to the football pitch was a small sort of climbing frame area, and the rest of it was just a narrow sort of thing. There was nothing to do. There was absolutely nothing to do.
Was huge.
No, I was little.
Ours was massive. The reception had like its own climbing frame and own garden bit, and then I remember the playground was huge. I think it probably wasn't that big. Now I'm thinking about it as an adult, but it felt huge. I remember there was a Noah's Ark wall near year 6. Then there was the basketball court. And then there was the actual like courtyardy bit. And then there was gravel all the way round, big playgrounds with like hopscotches on. And then there was the Friendship bus stop. Did you have one of them?
No.
It's a big, if you had no one to play with, you could stand at the bus stop.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
And then I was like, oh, those kids are just and then I had a great time. And then we had a big field, and then we had a back field that was like even bigger.
We didn't get this until secondary school. Then we had loads and loads of space. Primary school, no, just a little village primary school. Big. But the thing is, again, that sort of highlights and exemplifies the fact that in early years we put such an emphasis on getting outside, running around, forest schools. Like, there's outdoor play is a huge element of what we do. You didn't go to primary schools, and very
15
rarely,
minutes in the morning.
but very rarely did anything we do at primary school ever actually elevate heart rates. We did, even PE, we used to just get like beanbags out and like things in the hall, and those wooden benches and stuff, and do things like that. I don't really remember ever properly playing a sport in PE at primary school or doing anything.
I don't want this to come across that we're completely slagging off primary schools.
No, I'm just going off. This isn't even a professional. This is just memory.
And like I say, I think the early years system within schools is changing, and I think it is maybe developing. So I don't want this to be like an anti-school.
This is purely just from frustration and memory of primary school.
Okay, so we kind of talk about we kind of have touched on the misconceptions of what children need for going to school. So it always used to be like the ability to sit at a desk, write their full name, do all these things that, like you said, get them ready for factory work.
Yeah. I've always said when we talk about school readiness and whenever talking to parents, as long as they're happy children who are confident, independent, and have elements of being able to regulate their own emotions, you get that through independence. Yeah, can concentrate for a realistic amount of time. Then I'm happy. If their name's not quite there in terms of being able to write, if they can count to 4 or 5 and they get a bit shaky after that, it doesn't matter. But if they're...
That's one thing that the schools are really good at doing, is that the children get it within probably by the end of the first term.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got it.
Yeah.
Because that's what their sole focus is.
Yeah.
So the kids get it and they know it. And that is one thing that schools are incredible at doing, is that they can, by the end of that first term, your child probably will be able to write their name fully and confidently. Their phonics sounds, starting to read, like those types of things they do nail really quickly, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So that's something that we might not agree is the right thing for them to be doing that young, but it works and they do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then parents. Do we prepare parents enough for schools in our early years environments? Because I want to say something, but I don't want to say it because I feel like I've been a bit controversial this episode.
Go on.
I sometimes feel like parents of early years settings are really entitled and really just think that what they want, they get.
Right. That's society as a whole these days, isn't it?
No, but I think it's because they are paying customers.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I think they...
Service. We provide...
The service...
Early years provides a service as much as anything, doesn't it?
So I sometimes feel like families expect nurseries and early years and childminders to go above and beyond and go by their rules, not by what we're doing. Whereas when you go to school...
It doesn't end though, because you've always, even from where we went to school...
No, but you are no longer a customer. You're no longer paying for that service.
But you're always going to have those mums groups outside the gates. You'll always have a collection of people.
100%. But I think that... I don't know if when they get to school, parents just accept, well, I'm no longer paying for this service, so I
fall in line a little bit more.
Just have to accept it. Whereas at nursery... I feel like it's completely opposite and people are really like, well, no, I think this, so you'll do that. No.
I'm not sure. I think you'll always have the vocal minority. And I think no matter which part of education you're in.
We just spoke to your sister who has got 2 children, and when they're in primary school, like for parents' evening, you picked your time slot, like your hours in between. You got given a time. If that time didn't work for you, like tough.
Yeah.
If sports day falls at a time that you can't get annual leave for, you don't go. If the show is at a time that you can't get to, you don't get to see it. They don't put on a special performance for you.
No. But they can't. There are thousands of children going through schools.
Exactly. But you say that, but our settings can get up to 100 children. So I think it just... all of a sudden they kind of accept it because it's school. Whereas the nursery, it's a little bit more like, well, no, I'm demanding this because I'm paying you.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you're paying a hell of a lot of money for early years. Completely understand that. But there's always a reason behind things. And I think sometimes in early years, we do bend over backwards for families. Can I drop off half an hour early tomorrow? Yeah, there's space, no worries. Oh, I'm running late, so I'm not going to be there until 6.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fine, no worries. We'll book them in for the extra hour. You can't do that at school. You have to make arrangements. Somebody has to collect your child, or you hope that there's space in after school club that you can book them into. But if you're not actually registered with the after school club, likelihood is you're not going to get them in.
No.
You can't just drop them off at 7 because it's convenient to you because the school's not open. And I think that is where parents and the handovers.
Yeah.
Parent handovers in early years are huge. Like, we have to try and limit them because some parents just want to chat forever and ever, which is lovely because you want to have those communications. But at school, when we just spoke to your sister, they open the door, there's your mum, off you go, unless they needed to talk to you.
And it's like the internal systems we use, and parents within the nursery settings will get photos every day, and that element goes, but that's actually on early years to actually, we probably do too much. Are we preparing?
Yeah. But I think some reception classes more have spoken to people, they do send photos. They do send photos of what they're doing and observations because they are still part of the EYFS. So that kind of thing does still stay as you get into year 1. But it's probably not as much as assessing would do.
When I was in primary school, it wasn't a thing because you didn't have the technological abilities to do that, no.
So, I think maybe is it us we need to do more to put our feet down with parents before they go to school.
But also, my argument back to that is, in early years, parent partnership, in all elements of education, parent partnership is crucial. But even more so in early years, because a lot of the children are non-vocal. They don't have the ability to really effectively communicate. I mean. They can't talk about how they feel as effectively. Like, there's so much you get from parents and parent partnership that when you start to get into primary school more, and especially secondary education, parent partnership is still really, really crucial, but it takes on a different guys. Yeah, I think it does probably get lost the higher up you go. I mean, my mum was always fully in communication, all my teachers, but that's my mum.
Would not expect anything less.
I'm not entirely sure if that was the norm, and I don't know what it looks like this day and age. And equally, though, for a teacher to have effective parent communication with the volume of children they teach,
in secondary school,
it's near on impossible because they'll have to do another working day to communicate.
We are actually always judged on our parent partnership. We're after inspections. Our parent partnership is huge, and I think it's something in our industry that we take such pride in. But then I don't know if that is always a good thing because it's so different from school. Yeah,
but there's the practical implications of it.
True.
You know, as a group of children, somebody might be in charge of, 20 children, 25 children. It's a lot different when you're teaching multiple age groups.
But we have some people that have key children of up to 20 key children.
Yeah, but you could be a primary school, you could be a secondary school teacher.
Secondary school is different because you have
hundreds of children.
That's different. So that was our school ready.
I guess primary school is slightly different because unless this has changed, generally you teach one class, don't you? You teach them in all subjects. Yeah. So you have your class. I guess that is a different aspect of it.
Yeah.
Secondary school, that blows that out of the water entirely.
100%, because you have like 12 different teachers. I had 6 different teachers for science one year in secondary school. I did make a complaint. I was livid. How am I supposed to learn anything?
Our English literature teacher broke a leg or something with 5 months to go until our final exams. So she then just went and we got a supply teacher. And honestly, it was the worst thing that could possibly happen. Especially as a supply teacher, I had no idea what was going on and wasn't particularly good either. It was just wasn't even another member of staff from school. They just put someone completely new in.
Do you know what? Secondary school was mad, wasn't it? I was talking to one of my friends about secondary school the other day. I was like, were they one of them ones that blocked the maths stairs for no reason?
Oh.
So there used to be stairs in the maths block and you could only go up one and down the other. So it's like a one-way system. And some really lovely, delightful people in year 11 would just stand in barricade at the edge. The edge of the set. I don't know. And then the stairs would back up. Kids would push and you'd get so squished.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden they'd just let go and everyone would just go flying. And if you saw it building up, you either ran the other direction or you had to hold onto the barrier to be like, oh my God, this is it for me.
Oh, school.
What else? I remember I went to 2 secondary schools. We had one English teacher who was really bad asthma. So they banned aerosols from, it's always that one kid. And then she'd having an asthma attack in the corner.
To be fair, our music teacher in year 7, she had asthma attack, nearly died, I think.
That's what I mean.
It was quite bad.
It's mean.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think anyone intentionally did anything.
Oh, no,
we never actually saw her again. I think she went off sick and then left. So we actually never... There's a rumour that she died, but she didn't.
Sorry, I went off on one. Secondary school was a funny
Come on,
one,
let's get stuck into
the thoughts.
what everyone thinks.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So this is what actual teachers think we should be doing, what children should be doing when they get to secondary school.
We don't know the actual teachers. We asked the question on...
Oh, yeah, okay.
There could be anyone.
These people tell us they're teachers.
Yep.
Okay. Being able to interact well with adults and children. Perfect.
Yep. And that comes through communication.
Scaffolding, learning, interaction. Fine. Being independent, being able to get changed, wash their hands, etc., which is something we massively focus on in our
I think independence, I think as a word, probably best sums up what we want to come from early years.
Yeah.
Because as a word, it's independence in terms of being able to regulate through co-regulation. They learn the skills, but that level of independence, it's independence to be able to do basic things, the independence to learn and want to learn.
And
it's
there was a
really
lot
good
of
word
that in
to
the list,
describe
so I've kind of summarised them. I really like this one, a willingness to try new things. So that resilience and things like that, I really like that. I thought that's a really nice thing for us to focus on for prepping children, like that willingness to have a go and confidence.
But that again comes from being shown new things and having that experience of newness and it being a positive. We sort of talked about it when we were talking, when you're having your rant about children and being close to school holidays.
Yes.
That's a new thing, going to a new school. And their willingness in the future to try new things and go to new places and experiences will come from, i.e. when I'm growing up, did I have a good time last time or bad time last time? Because if I left nursery, went to my new school and I felt really anxious and it wasn't a good experience, then that will come to build up on their willingness to try new things.
Exactly. Being toilet trained.
That's a big one.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of children, a lot more. I think there's been an increase of children going to reception classes.
And the thing is that
aren't toilet trained. That's all individual.
And there's a likelihood that could get worse with more people potentially not being able to get into early years education, more people not being able to access it from a financial standpoint. If they're then just at home, there is an element, a potential chance of we could see, and there's normally a correlation with children that are at home until primary school.
Yeah.
You see that more and more, and that must be a massive frustration for primary school teachers, I bet, because it then just completely disrupts the flow of your day. If you're then going to have to go to if you're constantly able to change children throughout a primary school, it must be very difficult to then do your job.
Being able to ask for help, that's a nice one. So that that's that confidence and
independence as well.
Being able to play for extended periods of time, so being able to explore their surroundings and engage in play, which is nice. Be able to sit.
It's nice that the word play is the focus, and I think that's where I think sometimes when we talk about primary school, it comes from our experience, whereas in reality, the world is like I say, changing, and that element of focuses.
Be able to sit, listen, and join in with stories, which is a nice one as well, which we do a lot of in early years.
The only thing I'll say about that is don't make them big groups.
I've got some group time videos coming up, so we could discuss that.
I think when there's 15 children and you're reading a story, unless you are exemplary at it and you're really, really, really good, in which case I'll shut up and sit in the corner. But 9 times out of 10, if the group's that large or larger, there's children going to be wandering off in thought and not really engaging with it.
Yeah. Hold a pencil and write some of their name. And when we say hold a pencil, we're talking about those fine motor skills that we instill in children, playing with Play-Doh, all those different things, building with blocks. It builds up those fine motor skills.
Yeah.
And write some of their name. Most children, by the time they go to school, do show an interest in writing their name. But it just naturally happens from home and nursery. So that's great. Numbers 1 to 5 been embedded. Knowledge of 2D shapes and starting to hear the starting sounds of words as well, which I think we can naturally come into conversation in early years, but it isn't always a sole focus. Numbers and 2D shapes, 100%. That's done throughout the whole of early years life.
Yeah, I mean, it will naturally start to happen because the human body is, funny enough, actually quite intelligent, and the way it's developed over time is quite intelligent. And the auditory processing of hearing, and then also the ability to to make noise.
Yes.
That's effectively what we're doing. When me and you are communicating, we're actually just making noises at each other. They are one of this sort of the same system.
Yeah.
Which is quite an intelligent thing, because if they were separate systems, it probably wouldn't be as easy and as effective as it is. So to go them from, children at the early years stage have to very quickly figure out syllables. They have to quickly work out what these noises are and then put them together in string up words. It's quite an incredible thing. So it takes time, and people develop it at different rates.
This is one I haven't really thought about. Recognising name when it's been said and when it's written down on their like pegs or drawers and things. So they're able to have that independence because they know what's theirs. I really liked that.
Auditory processing 9 times out of 10 will come along and develop faster than visual processing. Yeah.
Being able to take turns, share stories is sociable. And then this is one that somebody said, I actually think it's the teachers that have to be ready for them. So knowing that the children's interests so that they can reflect on it in the environment. I think that is a really nice. I'm just going to see if we've had any more.
Teachers to be, I imagine most are.
Using the toilet, coats on and off, independence. Yeah. So there's a lot of the same stuff coming through again. So yeah, that's kind of what people think. So let us know what you think. What do you think is a child being ready for school? Let us know.
What would your be then? What would your one thing be? The more important thing?
Can I have one sentence?
Maybe. I'll hear it and then I'll...
Okay. When children leave us for school, I want them to be confident, happy.
This isn't a sentence. This is...
And willing to learn. That's my 3.
I think happy is the right answer. I think independence is probably a close second, but happy. If you've got a happy child, if you're a happy brain, you're going to be able to learn, whether it comes as quickly as the syllabus and we expect, or if it comes in time. Yeah. If you're happy, genuinely, and this is just general in life, if you're happy, you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
If you
love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You'll be successful, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more and more a child is in a parasympathetic state and they're relaxed and like I say, they're joyful, they're happy, the more the brain is going to be healthy. And if the brain is healthy, the more, from a cognitive point of view, they're going to be able to achieve. And just generally, when we're talking about development, they're going to get to a good place.
Yeah.
Because if you flip that and you look at children who are constantly in a sympathetic state, they're constantly what other people would refer to as that flight and fight.
Yeah.
Stage, and they're constantly in fear, whether what they're scared of is there. There is such thing as learned fear. And at the early years is the prime time to have that learned fear. And in that sense, you're always going to be in a closed down situation. Yeah. And children who then suffer abuse, and it doesn't even have to be abusive when we talk about abuse, actual horrible things happen to them. They've just had some bad experiences in life. That can have massive knock-on effect in terms of the shape of their brain and plasticity and things like that. So when we talk about children and going to school, as long as they're happy, earlier settings have done a good job.
Yeah.
And when you talk to children, if they're excited about going to big school, they've got smiles on their face, then the people around them in their lives are doing a good job. And as much as we've talked today about primary schools and whether they're shackled down too much, whether the focus on learning versus play is an equal balance or as balanced as it should be, etc., I think in general, if people have happy classrooms where children are able to express themselves, develop independence, we're going in the right direction at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. What a lovely way to end.
Woo!
Be happy.
Be happy. And
succeed.
We'll see you next week.
I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.